Millersville Board of Commissioners regular meeting Tuesday, February 19th, 5:30 p.m. Everyone, please stand for the invocation and the pledge.
Let's pray together. Father, tonight my heart is full because you are good. You're God, you're sovereign, you're in control of everything, but at the same time, there's a sense in which, Lord, I think all of us are feeling the weight of a difficult time in which we live. A lot of division out there, Father, in our country. A lot of stuff happening that we couldn't possibly understand. But Lord, we know that you've got it. We're still a nation that has on our coins, in God we trust. We still pledge one nation under God. And Father, as long as we remain under God, we will be fine. We'll come out on top. And we thank you for that. We're looking to you for the help we need, the wisdom we need. And for this meeting tonight, God, would you just come and do through this board, this committee, this council, and these citizens of this sweet, precious community in which we live. And Lord, when we leave this place, God is good. God is good. We thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3, approval of minutes from the January 15, 2019 regular commission meeting. Call for motion.
Move that we approve the minutes from the January 15th, 2019 regular commission meeting.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 4, approval of the January 2019 financial report. Call for motion.
Move that we approve the January 2019 financial report. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? If there is no objection, we're going to flip-flop 5 and 6 because Ms. Stevens has another appointment. So item number 6 is presentation of the 2017-18 fiscal year audit report. Ms. Karen Stevens, Blankenship CPA Group, PLLC.
Thank you very much for allowing me to make that change to the agenda. I'm going to go through, because I know you all have a full agenda tonight, so I'm going to go through the financial statements very, very quickly. At any time, please stop me and ask a question. And if I don't cover something that you wanted to know, I'll be happy to go back and hit it. But just in the interest of your time, I won't go through all the details. As you have the financial statements presented to you tonight on page 2, the independent auditor's report, and it continues on to page 3. This is the report that tells the condition of your audit, and at the very bottom of page 2, it says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. So this is the best opinion that we can give. You all are receiving what's called a cleaner and qualified opinion, and that's something to be proud of. And what this opinion also tells is there's a lot of information in this packet. A few things we don't on it, most of it we do, and it just kind of walks you through each page and what we have and have not looked at. And then beginning on page 4 through page 7 are management's discussion and analysis. So this is Holly and her team and their take on the financial statements, and some really good information there about comparing the numbers one year over another. And particularly, I'll make reference to on page 6 a little bit later, but some good reading there. And then pages 8 and 9 are the full accrual financial statements. So I've said this before, I think, to this governing body, but these are not the financial statements, the basis that you govern from. These are those full accrual statements where we recognize all the fixed assets the city owns, record depreciation, all those things. So that's pages 8 and 9. And then beginning on page 10, this is your balance sheet for each of your funds on the basis that you all are used to seeing, the basis from which you govern. So you've got this information presented in a couple of different ways. Beginning on page 10, you've got by fund for your major funds. And then beginning on page 13, I think it is, yes, 13, you've got that same information presented budget with the budget, it's the actual numbers, you can see how you compare with the budget. And then the detail of all those smaller funds is listed in the back. I know I'm flipping around a lot, but beginning on pages 34 and 35. So, a couple things I will point out. In the general fund, at the end of last year, you had almost $1.8 million in the unassigned fund balance, so you had quite a bit there, and that's always a good indicator of financial health of the city. And then on page 11, this is the receipts and disbursements for the year. One thing I did want to point out, in the general fund, you did have a decrease in your fund balance last year. But if you'll remember 2 years ago, you all had borrowed money to buy a fire truck, and you'd gotten that money in 2 years ago, but the fire truck that order hadn't come through yet. So now you're seeing the order come through, you paid for the fire truck, expense the fire truck. So that's that $350,000, I think $390 was the purchase of the fire truck. So really, the general fund, what you took in equated to what you spent last year if you take out the effect of that purchase of that fire truck. Same thing in the solid waste fund, that decrease that you had there, you purchased a sweeper truck last year, so that's the big purchase in that fund. And then, as I mentioned on page 13, you've got budget actual. You didn't have any variances from your budget that had to be reported, so that's good. No overages that we would need to take a look at. And then beginning on page 14 and 15, these are the sewer fund financial statements. A couple things I wanted to point out there. Total net position at the end of the year is $6.2 million. That's a decrease over last year. And remember, this is June of 17 compared to June of 18. I know y'all have already taken action since June of 18 in the sewer fund, but I just did want to point that out. On page 15, this shows your revenues and your expenses, and you did have a loss on operations, which I think you all were fully aware of. And that $44,000 operating loss, Holly and her team have done a really good job of explaining on page 6. If you'll flip back to page 6 and read that little paragraph that they've written there about the sewer fund, it gives some good context as to how you all knew that this was happening and what contributed to it and what you've done to this point with your rates and your rate studies to address that. And then pages 17 through 30, I think that's 31, are the footnotes to the financial statements. There's a lot of detailed information in here. And a lot of it is very similar, reads very similar from year to year about how everything is accounted for. A couple things I will point out to get to it. Page 25 is a summary of your capital assets. And then on page 26 begins some really lengthy disclosure about your participation in the state pension plan, and we talked about that in times past as well. And you all are funding that according to the TCRS, that you are funding that appropriately, so that's very good. And then on page 30 begins a detail of your long-term debt for the city. It's a little bit easier to see that if you look on page 38. This is detailed out by each debt instrument that you have right now and what payments are due by year through their maturity. So the community center, you're just 4 years away from payoff on that one. You've got a small lease that'll be paid off, it actually already is paid off in this fiscal year, and then you just got the new fire engine note, that $390,000 note that just began this last year. So. Lots and lots of information in here. Page 37 is a summary of grant activity, and this is again a required schedule. So last year, the only grant activity that you all had was the state revolving loan fund money that you've borrowed for your improvements to the infrastructure, and the draw on that last year was $135,000. And then the last thing I want to make mention of beginning on page 42 and then through the end, we do kind of two audits in one. We audit the financial statements, and then we audit your governance and your compliance with state requirements and all of that. And so that's what this letter beginning on page 42 talks about. And we did have one comment this year that we brought forward to you, and then resolution of that is on page 45. But it's a change in how you all were accounting for some of your receipts coming in, and mostly having to do with sales tax and gas taxes. So you're receiving that money, let's say, in the month of February for taxes collected in the month of January. So there's always a 1 month lag there. And over time, those numbers have become larger. And so we made the decision with Holly and her team to go ahead and make a change in accounting practice to better match up. So now what you have in your books and records is if taxes are levied in June, then they're on your books in June. And so we just made an adjustment, suggested that they make an adjustment, and they agreed, and that's what this finding is about. And then as you see, you've got Holly's response there that we made the suggestion, you all changed it, and it's already done. So just at our advice, we think this is a better accounting for that, and that makes sure that all of your different types of tax, whether it's sales tax, gas tax, business tax, no matter what it is, in the month that it's being assessed is the month you're recognizing. That's exactly. So no lag in that any longer. It's a lot of information in a very short amount of time. Can I answer any questions for you?
Not at this time. I'll have some later on.
Absolutely, and you know how to, Holly knows how to reach me, and you all also, it's on the letterhead. Feel free to reach out, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. So, thank you for the opportunity, and again for the change in the agenda. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, update on Sumner County Emergency Communication Center. Commander?
Let me pass this around before we get started, if you don't mind. This is kind of an outline of what's been going on. So just in a nutshell, to bring you up to speed as to what has transpired, some of you may or may not know the whole history, but in July of 17, the center opened. And since that time, we've been keeping, the operations committee has been keeping a close eye on the production, the service that's been rendered, and in such time that has transpired up until December of last year, we have noticed, when I say we, the operations committee, which is made up of the chief of police or fire chief from all the jurisdictions that are participatory and or their designee, we've noticed a continued failing of the system to provide adequate service, and we've noticed a large amount of loss of employees, a large turnover. So to bring you up to present day, based on that turnover, based on some information that we had heard from people that have left and so forth, the operations committee asked the executive committee to authorize an internal review of the employees that have left so we could find out exactly what's going on. And that report came back on January the 16th, and a vote of confidence was taken by the operations committee. And that vote was 12-2 of no confidence of the director and leadership of the organization. 2 days later, the executive board was supposed to hear that report and make a determination. But that morning, or before that meeting transpired at 1 p.m. on the 18th, both the director and the assistant director tendered their resignations, and they were accepted. So in the business that we're in, you know, you have to lay out contingencies, and we knew exactly what the next question was going to be by the executive board to the operations committee was, what are you going to do now? And so, understanding that was a possibility and a reality, I had drafted the document that you have before you and was asked to present that to the executive board that day. And basically, it states what my vision was with the help of the operations committee moving forward and taking control of the center. Obviously, the most important for everyone in Sumner County was to maintain operation, maintain service at the 911 center without interruption, but at the same time immediately get inside the building and reassure these employees that we understand there was a problem. We now know the full breadth of the problem, and we're here to correct those issues. As you can imagine, from a 911 operator, it's a very stressful job in and of itself. And with all this peripheral noise going on about both the director and the assistant director walking out the door, attending their resignations, and leaving it as what it was, is adding stress to that. So our feeling was immediately to get up out of that meeting, walk right next door into that meeting, that building, and start reassuring employees. So for the next 4 days, I met with every single employee, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or every shift for the next few days, meeting with them and reassuring them that we understand what the problem is, we've identified the issues, and we'll get things back on track. So with that, again, we've met with each of the employees. I asked, for example, how many before today were still contemplating or thinking about leaving the organization? And there was a resounding raising of the hands from the majority of the employees in there. I've since gone back and asked that question since we got in the building to try to stabilize that situation, and I've only heard good things, that they're not wanting to leave now. They know that corrections and issues are being addressed. So stabilize the situation, make sure the employees know that, that we're going to correct these issues. At that same time, there's several other things we need to do. Immediately start the process of looking for a new director. Again, I'm a commander with the Hendersonville Police Department. I was asked to help lead this, so I'm not a county employee. I was asked to help lead that, and I said absolutely, I will do that. It has to be done. It's necessary to keep that center up and running, and that's what we're going to do. So with that, we're going to also look for, again, a new director. So I've developed, and with the help of the operations committee, a new director search team. And what that's comprised of is one member from EMS, from fire, and from law, to look at the director's job description, the qualifications, the whole package, and make recommendations up to the executive board of exactly what that application and the process should be, so we can start that process of replacing the director inside the center. And next was one of the main issues that we saw going into this was the lack of adequate, in our opinion, the lack of adequate training of the employees that were there. So not only do we have employees that started and were there for a short period of time, trained, and then left, we had, and I want you to hear this number loud and clear because this is what the problem exists, is that we had 60% of the employees that came from the client agencies from all over from your center, from my center, from Gallatin, Portland, Westmoreland, and the Sheriff's Department. 60% of the dispatchers that came from those client agencies that transferred in have walked out the door. Now that's a red flag. That's not sustainable, and that's a shame that happened. We've lost some good talent, so we've got to get in there and correct these issues. And one of them was the lack of leadership and the lack of adequate training. So we're restoring the leadership. I've already set out some guidelines internally with one of the on-staff training supervisors that we have. I've created another subcommittee, which is called the Training Subcommittee, and that's made up of EMS, fire, and law, to work with the inside trainer to come up with a brand new training program. I mean, I went in there on day 2 and I said, let me see the training file, and it was totally inadequate. I said, we're going to have to set that aside. We're going to build this from the ground up and make this work, come up with a sufficient, adequate training program. That's already in process. We're also looking at any employees that may have left the center as a result of poor leadership or poor management that have left and would be a viable candidate to come back. Think about bringing those people back, because anybody that's trained that can come back to the center, I'm going to save a year's worth of experience or more. So we're looking at our policies. We're looking at all issues with inside the center to make this the best center that we can possibly make. Now, I say all that, that's not going to be done overnight. We've got a lot of hurdles to climb, but we started the process, and each day I'm seeing internally inside the building. I've been there every day. I've been there every day since January 18th, day and night, trying to correct these issues, identifying the problems that I see, tasking the individuals that are in leadership roles within the agency now to correct these issues, the training issues, the performance, and move forward. So with that, it's going to take some time. I'm not here to say it's going to happen overnight, but at least we're making a step in the right direction every day until we get a new director in there and carry out the mission. So that's kind of it in a nutshell where we are today. I can tell you this much. I've talked to, and you can ask around, don't take my word for it, but I've been from Millersville to Westmoreland, from Portland to Hendersonville to Gallatin, the Sheriff's Department, and I'm hearing positive comments from all the different agencies that they can tell the difference in tones of voices, the way they're being treated, just an upbeat. So I think we've eliminated some of the stress, some of the concerns they've had inside. Now we just need to give them the proper tools and training to move forward. So that's kind of the game plan, but I'm certainly here to answer any questions that you may have. And let me say this before I forget it. I invite you to come up to the center, come up and see. One of the things that I think was missing was the relationship building between the agencies and the center. Day one, I instructed the IT director at the center to issue IDs and credentials to the operations committee so they could come into the center whenever they want. To me, there's no difference in the dispatch center that was before July and today. The only difference is it used to exist right over here in this building. It's just in a different location, but that is our dispatch center. It's your dispatch center, it's mine, it's Gallatin's, it's the Sheriff's Department. It's the same people that we have that work and dispatch for our agencies. They have our lives in our very hands. They're just in a different location. So we've got to rebuild those relationships and not think of it, oh, it's a dispatch center that's dispatching for us. It's our dispatch center. Our employees are there, your dispatchers are there. So I invite you up to come and see it and meet the people up there as well. But I'll entertain any questions.
Was it new technology that was causing the problem as far as training, or?
No, to me it was a complete, and I've always said I don't want to look backwards, I want to look forward. There is a complete fundamental failure of leadership and adequate training, in my opinion, what I've seen. I have people, for example, I have people that are in the floor right now that have been there for quite some time, up to a year, and they're not fully trained yet. That's a failure of leadership. That's a failure of management. There's no other way that I can address it, look at it. I place the success of any company at the top tier, whether it's Ford Motor Company, whether it's,
NES.
AT&T, NES. It's about the leadership and what drives the business. And so whether it's a public safety entity, a chief of police, a fire chief, or the director of the ECC, that person has to lead and drive the mission. And when I've got somebody in the center that I'm watching, I've got one from another agency, I won't mention any names, I've got one from another agency that was very proficient in dispatch, but they would put in a different, I guess, role inside the center and lost skill sets because they were put there and never moved. And now I've got to go back and retrain somebody that's trained to get them back up to speed. So my staff that's there right now, there needs to be some training. And I told them point blank, they all know this. There's no hidden agendas. We're going to have to retrain some of the ones that are in there to get everybody up to proficiency. I've got 7 openings. Day one, I said I want to freeze hiring until I have a training program that I can bring somebody in and adequately train them, because otherwise we'll have a failure. And so it's worth the time right now to get the training program rebuilt, and it's on pace to have, I should have a report Monday on that as to the final product. I'm going to review that and put that in place and start hiring people, bring them in. Since day one, January the 18th, I have appointed 6 training people. There was 1. I've appointed 6 training, what they call CTOs, communication training officers, so that when I have these people that are coming in, we can adequately train them, and I can also train the ones that are on the floor that need. Now, I'm not saying everybody's untrained. They're not trained up to the full level. There's different, I guess, levels of training on the floor that need to be caught up to speed. So that's kind of where we're at, so that I can go on for hours about the problems. But I'm looking forward. I'm not moving backward. We're going to get things fixed, so we're going to move on. And the best day to start was yesterday. The next best day to start is today. And as long as we can make an improvement every day, we're going in the right direction. That's what we're going to get. So,
Appreciate it.
no problem. Any questions, I'll be glad to answer any.
Are you the interim director out here?
Yes, sir. I am. I'm the interim director until the operations committee can put the job package together. They will in turn give that to the executive committee, which is the mayor and the county executive. And when they do that, just so you'll know the kind of the timetable, when the executive committee gets that, reviews that, and gives their blessing that this job description is what we want, the qualifications, everything is set, it goes to the county. They launch a nationwide search. That search will last approximately 30 days. When those applications come back, it'll come back to the operations committee. We will look through that and say qualified, not qualified, sort those out. Then we'll interview and review those qualified applications, and our mission is to take the top 3 candidates to the executive board for their selection process, and they will select, hire, and appoint the new director.
You got anybody now?
They-
Got anybody interested y'all looking at now?
I've had several inquiries, some legitimate, some, kind of out of the woodwork. I'll say that when these kind of things happen, I get all kinds of, I've gotten all kinds of emails and phone calls about the potentials. I have maybe just a couple that seem viable, but it has not launched yet. So when we launch it nationwide, we'll advertise, I say we, the county will advertise this in professional publications, such as the National Emergency Number Association, NAPCO, another organization that's the professional magazines and services that deal with telecommunications and emergency services. So hopefully within 30 days of that, we'll get back, take a list of candidates, and we'll take that ultimately to the executive board for their final selection. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Commander, would you be sure to thank Hendersonville, the mayor, Clary, and your administration for allowing you to help rebuild this?
Absolutely will.
That is tremendously generous, and I know we appreciate your time.
I
and
appreciate
their
that.
allowance.
I've had a very supportive mayor and chief, and I do have other responsibilities back at the office, so I'm kind of going back and forth, but they've been very supportive of me, and I will certainly pass that message along.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next thing on the agenda is some public hearings. The first one, ordinance 18-713, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 82, Utilities, Article 2, Sewers. I'll now open for public hearing if there's anyone who'd like to speak. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Second one, ordinance 18-714, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 82, Utilities, Article 2, Sewers, Division 7, Rates and Charges, Section 82-206. Now open for public hearing. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. C, ordinance 19-716, ordinance to rezone 7639 South Swift Road, identified as Robertson County Map 126, parcel 059.00 from residential R4 to residential R5. I'll now open the public hearing. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Next, ordinance 19-717, ordinance to rezone 7625 Darby Road, identified as Sumner County Map 118, parcel 004.00 from residential R2 to residential R3. Now open for public hearing. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Item number 8, second reading of ordinance 18-710, an ordinance to amend the Millersville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 18, Building and Building Regulations, passed first reading on 10/16/18. Public hearing was held on 12/18/18. I'll now call for a motion.
Move that we approve of second reading ordinance 18-710.
Second to motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, this will be a roll call vote. Commissioner Gregory.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Boyd. Aye. Motion carries by a vote of 4-0. Item number 9, second reading of ordinance 18-713. An ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 82, Utilities, Article 2, Sewers, pass first reading on 1/15/19. Call for a motion.
Move that we approve on second reading ordinance 18-713, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 82, Utilities, Article 2, Sewers.
Second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, and this will be a roll call vote. Commissioner Gregory?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bell?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Doris? Aye. Motion carries by a vote of 4-0. Item number 10, second reading of ordinance 18-714, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 82, Utilities, Article 2, Sewers, Division 7, Rates and Charges, Section 82-206, pass first reading on 12/18/18. Call for a motion.
Move that we approve on second reading ordinance 18-717. It's an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 82, Utilities, Article 2, Sewers, Division 7, Rates and Charges.
That was ordinance 714.
Excuse me, 714.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Seeing here where it's gonna be, it's automatic 2% increase, correct, every year?
Actually, that was approved last year when we adopted these current rates. What we've done is we've just pulled the rates out of the actual ordinance on the municipal, on the code book, and have the rates as a separate ordinance. So you've already approved the 2% increase. This is just restating that.
Okay, it just says effective July 1st, 2019.
And that's what you approved earlier this year. I'm sorry, last year.
Anything further? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, and it will be a roll call vote. Commissioner Gregory?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bell?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Doris? Aye. Motion carries by a vote of 4-0. Item number 11, second reading of ordinance 19-716, an ordinance to rezone 7639 Southswift Road, identified as Robertson County Map 126, parcel 059.00, from residential R4 to residential R5, pass first reading on 1/15/19. Call for motion.
Move that we approve on second reading ordinance 19-716, which is to rezone 7639 South Swift Road.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
This was approved.
Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Again, it'll be a roll call vote. Commissioner Gregory?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bell?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Doris? Motion carries 4-0. Item number 12, second reading of ordinance 19-717, an ordinance to rezone 7625 Darby Road, identified as Sumner County Map 118, parcel 004.00, from residential R2 to residential R3, passed on first reading 1/15/19. Call for motion.
Move that we approve on second reading ordinance 19-717, which is to rezone 7625 Darby Road, identified as Sumner County Map 118, parcel 4, from residential R2 to residential R3.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend rezoning this parcel to residential R3 on November 13th, 2018.
Anything else? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. It'll be a roll call vote. Commissioner Gregory?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bell?
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Doris? Motion carries by a vote 4-0. Item number 13, approval of resolution 19-R01, a resolution to set certain fees charged by the city for sewer-related charges and services. Call for motion.
Move that, excuse me, move that we approve resolution 19-R-01, setting fees for building permits, inspections, and other related services, activities, and costs.
No, this is for,
Excuse me, where am I at?
one more.
13, you're going 14, 13.
19R-01, a resolution to set certain fees charged by the city for sewer-related services. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, I guess make a second on that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries by a vote 4-0. Item number 14, approval of resolution 19-R03, a resolution to set fees for building permits, inspections, and other related services, activities, and costs. Call for a motion.
Move that we approve resolution 19-R-03, a resolution to set fees for building permits, inspections, and other related services, activities, and costs.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Is this what we went over in work session pretty thoroughly?
It is, it basically simplifies the method in which the codes department has come up with a fee schedule for permits.
This answers a lot of the questions that we had at that meeting, as I recall.
Yes.
And in particular, you'll see, Vice Mayor, interior alterations in the second row on the first page of the exhibit that lays out a 25-cent per square foot fee for renovations and rehabilitations. Now, that doesn't include remodels. As long as it's not structural, then it won't require a building permit. But as soon as they get into the structure, the roof, et cetera, then that trips it into a building permit. But we do have, it's essentially 1/3 the price of a new permit.
Thank you.
Anybody? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes by a vote 4-0. Item 15, first reading of 19-718, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, Fire Prevention and Protection, Article 5, Inspections and Reviews, Section 34-102C. Call for a motion.
I move that, excuse me, I move that we approve a first reading ordinance 19-718, which is an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, Fire Prevention and Protection, Article 5.
Second motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just to point out, this is more in compliance with state law. We have changed the name, we have changed the word shall to may.
That is correct, yes, sir.
So,
For the repeated or annual inspections, there's still the requirement for the new occupancies or change in use.
okay. So we're in compliance with state law now, essentially.
Actually, we were exceeding compliance with state law prior, but this will relax our standards to match up with the state standards.
Okay, thank you.
This is all inspections, residential and commercial.
Fire-related inspections, yes.
Only.
Only fire inspections.
Do we have anything? Hearing nothing, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 16, discuss and take action on property located at the intersection of Highway 31W and Bethel Road.
I'd like to move that we provide the staff authority to go ahead and make arrangements to instruct the city attorney, direct staff and city attorney to prepare a purchase and sale agreement for the parcels of land that we're talking about, Sumner County, 118, 34, 35, and 36. And this has to do with the traffic light that we putting up there.
Yes, sir. This is the 3 parcels, about 5 acres overall, that is opposite of the traffic signal that we're working on right now that's in design. There was some potential right-of-way issues and connectivity on there, and the owner was receptive to selling to the city. And that'll eliminate any kind of right-of-way acquisitions and or easements or whatnot. Plus, it'll allow us to align their driveway with the intersection.
The other form of motion. Yes, I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just to make sure that Mr. Randall C. Hosley owns this property, and his name wasn't mentioned in the motion, so I just wanted the public to know that.
Yes.
Okay. And also, there was a $5,000 earnest money, that the city would be responsible for all transaction costs.
And that would be upon signing of the contract.
Correct. Public knowledge.
And it's our intention to bring the contract back to you all at the March 4th workshop. We'll call a special meeting for that, for you all to approve and execute the contract.
And this got to go through a public hearing also?
No, sir, it doesn't require a public hearing.
Well, the only issue I have is, I mean, you know, that's another $225,000 that we're gonna spend. I just don't see why we're having to spend it, to tell you the truth, because we've got a lot of property here that's been sold, or is for sale. It's been for sale for 20 years. I don't know why this piece of property is particular, wants to sell, but I just think that we've got a lot of issues here in this city that needs to be addressed besides buying property. I'm not for it exactly. I just don't like it. I know I'm gonna get outvoted. I want to address my concern. You know, I feel like we're out here buying property. We bought a piece of property across the road over here. We give $100,000 for it to build a veterans park. We pay Wade down here to mow the grass every year. It's cost us money. We've invested in other properties here in the city before. We lost money on them. I just can't see the citizens keep investing more and more money in property that we're losing on. That's all I've got to say.
Well, I will say this, in my opinion, we invested a lot of money in hiring Mr. Boyer to help the development of this city. And if we don't provide him with the tools to do that, he's not going to be successful. There's a property just north of this property that sold, I believe, a couple of years ago. It sold for just about exactly what this piece of property is selling for. They then built a building on it, and that piece of property sold for $1.25 million. And it's housing the Dollar General store now that brings in about $10,000 to $12,000 or $15,000 a month in sales tax. The only way this city is going to grow is through sales tax. Property tax just ain't going to do it. And the only way we're going to get sales tax is if we get businesses in this city that generate sales tax.
Amen.
So,
The concern I have, just to point out, add my 2 cents, is that if, once we put the stoplight there, if we don't position the light correctly, we might be restricting the use of this property. And as such, there would be a potential for inverse condemnation suit brought by the current owner. But if the city were to buy it, as we are maybe voting upon here in a few moments, it'll alleviate that and solves the problem and also benefits the city in the long run. But we have to think about the potential of, because of the driveway, the way it fronts 31W right across the Bethel Road, we're going to have a problem with placing a light there if we don't do something with this property. And I'd rather go ahead and get it resolved now, friendly terms, than later in a lawsuit. That's all I have.
I believe it would benefit the city. I'm in favor of this. I believe it would benefit the city, so the city will have control of what goes in there and what goes in there. And that, I think that's a plus, and it's also the best plus I've seen, because it'd be an active light right in front of a business, and that would make it very attractive for a business to come in. Now they got a good, safe way to get in and out.
And
Go to the dollar store and see how much trouble you have there. Now, come back down this way and see how much better that will be.
And the city will have the capability of positioning the entry and exit at that property, whereas if we give that up, we're gonna run into problems. So I support it also.
I do too, and I think it's great.
Anything else? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye. Motion carries by a vote of 3-1. Item number 17, discuss and take action on property located near I-65 and Bethel Road for future public works facility. Call for a motion.
I move that we direct staff to negotiate with the seller of the property located near I-65 and exit 104 exchange with Bethel Road. The price, terms, and conditions for the purchase of that 20 acres, not to exceed $100,000, and for the city attorney to prepare an agreement for the commission to review and take such action as the commission determines.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Well, I don't know where this property is exactly at, because I'm gonna let everybody know that these two lots, the one before this and this one right here, tonight's the first night that I've seen these right here. So they're asking me to vote on spending $300 and something thousand of taxpayers' money. The $100,000, then you gotta build public works. You gotta build the buildings and everything, staff it. So, you know, I'm just letting you know that I've been handed this right here, this is laying on the table when I came in tonight. And it's gonna be hard for me to vote on yes on anything that I've just laid eyes on.
This is not a vote to buy. It's a vote to draw up a contract.
And it will come back to this board.
It will come back.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. And the plan again is to bring it to the commission at the special meeting after the March 4th workshop.
And the contract would go through the work session. Like I said, this is just a vote to draw up a contract.
To negotiate with the seller. This is a distressed property that the seller's looking to get out from under, and it would be an ideal parcel for public works, and probably leave room for other opportunities up there too. But part of the reason why the seller has asked for confidentiality at this point, but we're also working with Robertson County's Economic Development Board, that they may be able to put some incentives and some grant monies into some of the improvements for this facility, and including possibly paving driveways, running utilities, and then we'll take a look to see if we can obtain some grants to actually build the facility, to build the public works, instead of it coming out of the taxpayers.
There's still a whole lot more to go.
There is a lot more to go, but I need direction from the commission to move this to the next step.
And what we are voting on is just giving you directions to move in that.
Correct, you are not spending any money tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're just gonna give us a sales agreement with them?
Ideally, yes.
Yeah.
And in the regards to this one, this is the first time it's been on this table. And in regards to the other one, it was discussed at the last meeting, where this board authorized you to make an offer to the landowner, in which you did. So this has been talked about for more than this tonight. We talked about it.
You're not talking about me making an offer.
Yes, sir.
I never made no offer.
You didn't talk to Randy Holmes?
Yes, I sure did. I talked to Randy Hulsey and asked him what he was considering asking for the property, and he said he wanted $250,000 cash in a briefcase. When he got that, he would sell it. Now, am I telling the truth, Robert Stone?
Yes, sir, he said the red line went up at big $300.
That's right. So, I mean, I'm just
No,
saying,
that's
I didn't
not what I'm
ask
saying.
about me buying it.
This is not
Mr.
the
Bell,
first time it's come across
I
this table.
understand that.
Is what I'm saying.
Mr.
I just
Bell
don't want
asked me.
everybody to be, led down a road that they shouldn't be led, because this ain't the first time it's come across this
I
table.
understand. I don't want to be led down a road that's going to nowhere. But you take, like Mr. Bell asked me if I would ask him what he would take for it. And I did. I went about 3 days later and I asked him, and that's what he told me. And then it went brought up the next week, and then it was brought up the other day, and I said $250,000 in a briefcase. What do you take for it? That was all I've done. I was just a messenger. Is all I am. But I wasn't authorized to go to pricing the property or anything like that right there. I had nothing to do with that. I don't have the authority to buy property for the city.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Okay.
All I done was went and asked him what he would take for the property, and that's what he told me. So, that's all I'm saying.
Okay. Is there anything further? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries by a vote of 4 to 0. Item number 18.
Actually, Mayor, let me interject that we have one more item on here. A letter that the State Department of Transportation has asked for your consideration. It's a letter of support to Secretary Chow at the U.S. Department of Transportation, looking at a grant application on the state level to supplement the I-65 widening project. The idea behind this is that if we're able, because currently right now the 65 expansion, or lane widening, if you will, is being funded from through the Improve Act, which is the Tennessee's increase in the gas taxes. Evidently there is a new program that's popped up, a new grant, that the state is going to apply for funding, which the benefit of that, if it's awarded to Tennessee for I-65, will allow those monies from the Improve Act that were dedicated for I-65 to go to other projects. So based on this being a national corridor, the State Department of Transportation believes that that there's good opportunity to get this grant from the feds. We don't have an involvement in it, but I'm just asking for the Commission's support for the mayor to sign this letter.
So I guess we'll need a motion.
I move that we support the mayor's signature to this letter to the U.S. Department of Transportation, to the, I guess it's to increase the expansion or the size of I-65.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
All I'm saying is it'll be a well investment in these properties right there, investment right there. Most people don't know it coming in at Portland exit up there, they're already starting that way, coming this way. So it's definitely going to improve. It's got it, what is it, 2040, is that when it's talking about getting it done?
No, actually, they're talking less time than that.
Okay.
They could be complete between Vietnam Veterans Parkway and the state line within, I think, 6 to 8 years, depending upon. There's some creative contracting on it, what's called design build, which should make the project move faster. And in fact, I believe they're going to begin the work of widening 65 from Vietnam Veterans up to 98 within the next year, and then shortly thereafter start climbing up the ridge.
All right.
We're going to have a lot of traffic through town.
Yes, we will. It's been a nightmare. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, item number 18, citizens' comments. If anyone would like to speak?
Yes, you all know why I'm here.
Name and address.
Kevin Pennell, 1138 Ridge Hill Road. All right, yeah, about a week ago, I brought you all the factual documents from court cases, hearings, affidavits from Sumner County Commissioner. I believe we answered every question that was thrown at the city that night, all the speculation, and I hadn't heard anything back.
I passed along all the documentation to the city attorney. He's reviewing it right now, and as soon as he's done, he's supposed to get back with me. He hasn't got back with me yet. So I really don't know where he's at until he calls me back.
I just want to know so I could know
I
which
hadn't
direction I'm
forgotten.
heading with it. And I feel like every single question was answered. I hope you feel the same. And as I said, we got 9 cases that's gone on for 9 years. We have 9 cases that long for something that he thinks he'd like to speculate on. It's probably been talked about. I mean, they talked about the most ridiculous stuff for 9 years that it's all been hashed out.
As soon as he gets back with me, I'll let you know.
All right, did he give you a date as to when he thought he could look at it?
He didn't. He had court that day. Basically, I just dropped the stuff off to him. He was gonna go through it, and like I said, that was about the middle of the week. So I expect he should be back because we meet somewhere this week or maybe first of next week. But if I don't hear from them in a few days, I'll give them a call.
All right, and the flags that we put out in the field, do they need to stay out in the field? The neighbor called his, I've left mine out there, but I've been getting people stopped and constantly thinking I have trucks or land for sale.
They can just go ahead and pull.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else?
I guess mine was number 16 first. I don't know if it was in the river. It's my property on that. It's obvious that big property I bought the block. And the second part is, the other spent, what, $30,000 to $50,000 to build a couple more to the building? And now you want to blow more tax dollars on property to build another building? I mean, when does the tax dollar blow inside?
Yes, sir.
I'm Charles Sanderson, and I live at 3013 Frontier Lane, and this is sure altogether different than anything you probably ever hear at another city council meeting. I love this city, and I love doing what I do here, pastoring Millersville First Baptist Church. My great concern for communities all across the country is that our churches are really going down. Believe it or not, I really work hard and I care. I know that many of you probably already have a church home and that sort of thing. Millersville First Baptist, I feel like it's sort of a landmark here. The Methodist Church right next door to us, Friendship at the top of the hill, several other great churches around the area here. I happen to know, with the exception of one great church here right down the street, the Church of Christ is doing really, really good. Probably 300 or 400 or so on a given Sunday. Most of us, however, are way, way under that. I have somewhere less than 1,000 every Sunday. A lot less than that. I'm just saying, here's what I'm saying. I just want to just personally invite any of you folks, and any of the folks of the city, you know, I think if this city's going to be a great city, it has to be a godly city. Now, that's just the plain old truth. And while I care about all the business, you all do a superb job. I actually get blessed and learn a lot coming here. But I just want to ask you to all consider, you know, the fact that we need God's blessing as a community. And I want to tell you, empty church is probably not going to, that doesn't impress me a whole lot. So I just want to encourage you in that regard. And I want to thank you. I appreciate the fact that I get to come in here every month and open with prayer. You can't know how humbling that is to me. And I've not said that to this community in this way, but I really appreciate it. And thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Carrie Lewis, 1174 Louisville Highway for Millersville Public Library. I have January's numbers for you. We had a total of 1,107 items circulate in January, and we had 55 programs, and we had 390 people attend. We had our first, would anyone else want one? We had our first puppet show in January. It was a big hit. The kids all really liked it. There's a picture of our dinosaur on the second page. She's playing her little ukulele and singing with the kids. For February, the month's almost over. It flew by. So the only thing we really have left is our second puppet show with Pete the Cat. In March, we're having a bake sale up at the bank on March 15th. So I'd like to invite you all to stop by and get some pies or breads or cookies or anything. But that's it for me. It was short and sweet. I think I brought a guest.
So, hi, Melissa Clark. I'm at the Millersville Library as well, 1174 Millersville Highway. And I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm the new manager at the library, and I haven't had a chance to come down and meet everyone yet. So I was just coming down to say hello and invite you all to come. We have lots of programs coming up. We have the summer reading program. That's always a big part of the community. So thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Along the same lines, since we're talking about the library. The library is looking at putting a storage building in behind their facility, and the Friends of the Library is the ones that's going to be raising the money for the storage unit. I informed her that if it was less than 120 feet, she wouldn't need a permit.
Actually, Mayor, with the recent changes tonight to not only the building code, wrapping that up on the second reading, but also the fees, we no longer permit accessory structures under 200 square feet.
Okay, so she won't need a permit, but if...
However, it still needs to conform to the site restrictions and
Well,
setbacks.
it'll be behind.
We're happy to take a look at the site plan and make sure that it's placed correctly.
I just wanted to make sure that if there was any fees involved in the library putting their building down there, that the city waived those fees, if that was suitable to the board.
Absolutely, that's a moot issue.
The next thing is they're gonna have a yard sale in May. They would like to use the basketball court to set up their tables and then use the lower parking lot for parking. I have no problem with that. I can't imagine any of y'all would have an issue with that. So, set your tables up.
We'll coordinate that through with the Parks and Rec Department, to make sure that we don't have any conflicts on scheduling and whatnot, so.
The other thing was, they was wondering if they could get a little spot in our newsletter, and I spoke to Ms. Lord and told her to get in touch with Holly. I don't think that'll be an issue. You know, they're always looking for stuff to put in the newsletter, so, as long as they don't need 3 pages, we'll be good. And did I miss anything? All righty. That's all I have. All right. Is there any more citizens that would wish to speak? All right, city managers comments. Michael, you got anything?
Just to note that at the next work session, March 4th, we'll have Kidden Widner, I believe, or Widener, who is the director of the Emergency Management Agency for Sumner County. He'll be here to address some concerns that the Planning Commission had on locating some towers and antennas here within the city limits. They have the county has certain restrictions and requirements that don't exactly fit within our code under the towers and antennas section. So we introduced some language to the Planning Commission. I've had some pushback and some questions. So I thought this would be a good opportunity for the City Commission to hear this, as well as to invite the Planning Commission to listen to the director explain, and in particular explain the new system, the new communication system that they're installing here in Sumner County.
Is this antennas for the ECC?
No, well, indirectly, yes, but if they aren't managed by the ECC, they're managed by the EMA.
That's one of the questions we had.
But it is part of the ECC?
It is part of the communication and dispatch system, yes.
All right.
But it crosses to all the different agencies out there, including, I believe, the school system, that will allow radio communications with the buses while they're out on their routes, which right now I believe there are a bunch of black holes. There's some serious deficiencies in coverage that these new antenna or antennae or towers that they're looking to build will hopefully accommodate.
Another question that arose is they're looking for city property.
Not necessarily.
But our question was, what if there's a property owner that would have that put on his property? So we don't have an answer. We read it as they was actually asking for city. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's property owners that I'm sure would allow the county to place a tower on their
Yeah, but
property.
it's just not our city, it's countywide.
Oh, I know.
Well, there's a tower out there off the Flat Ridge Road out there.
I understand,
It's mine.
but that was brought up.
We were told that they wouldn't put their units on towers other than those that they own.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, they purchased that property from an individual to put that tower out there.
They did, but this tower is 150 foot tall, it requires 10,000 square foot base.
There was a lot of questions that the
And
planning
it's
commission
a lot
had.
of questions.
Well, what I'm saying is, I'm sure there's property owners out there that would allow them to put their antenna on their property. And in my opinion, as a city, we need to kind of keep it in mind that this tower has to do with the safety of our citizens.
And I said those same words.
The main word.
But there were some, I said that the towers were important for the public safety, fire and police safety. But there were some real questions.
The last thing that we need to do is to get out of that ECC building up there and have to go back to dispatching ourselves, because then we will be up a creek, and it will definitely bankrupt the city.
Yes.
So, you know, I know we have certain things we have to do, but we need to figure out a way to make something.
I think the planning commission agreed that fire and safety, public safety were our major responsibilities, but there still was some questions about the location, whether or not there would be the necessity of condemnation suits, which we would prefer not to be involved in.
Right.
And there was a lot of questions we had of Sumner County. So, and we thought we sort of pushed it off the agenda for the last planning commission and put it to next month to get these questions answered.
Yeah, and the thing with the EMA, they want independent towers, because the EMA comes out when all those big natural disasters come around, and they have got to have reliable communication. And if they don't have them in all parts of the county, they'll have big holes, and especially if a tower was to get blown down, then they've really got a big hole. Anything else?
No, sir.
Commissioners' comments? David?
Appreciate the department's heads' reports. I read this thing, and it was really good. And it's good that they've done that, and I really appreciate the library coming by every month, talking to us, let us know a few things, give us a little education, things we can do for our city. And appreciate the pastor being here. It's good to be here to see.
Mr. Bell?
I appreciate them also,
Yep.
because I need every bit of help I can get.
Yeah.
Ms. Joyce?
Yes, I read the reports too that the department heads put together, and I thoroughly enjoyed them and answered a lot of questions. And I do appreciate the library, because when I was in school, I had to go to the Wilson Library and had to have a card saying that I was out of county. So I appreciate the library.
Took your horse a long time to get out there, didn't it?
Well, sure did.
Yeah, I thought mules took even longer.
Well, I appreciate the people from the library, the department heads reports. I think that's something we've been missing for a while. Glad to see those back. And I hope Holly gets to feeling better, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move that we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Say, brother.
I remember where the library used to be at down there. I sure did. And if you didn't have that little card, you couldn't get in down there.
Milton, you had to walk barefoot in the snow all the way.
No, I didn't go. I didn't go.
Mr. Bell, always good to see you, man.
See you
Bless
too.
your heart, baby. Bye, young lady.
Bye.
You
See
do a
you
great
next
job.
time.
There, appreciate your work. I really like the comment you made about the sales tax property. See, that's the truth. You get folks in here, you make
We
them
need
fine,
those
you
two
attract them,
great
and
places.
we'll do fine. We'll do fine. You're on the money.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's amazing. Those boys are smart. They are smart business people. But Bart, you stand your ground, man. I appreciate that.
I live right across the college door. And I look out my window, and I can see it when it fills up. And about the time it gets empty, here another wave comes
I'm
through.
telling you, it's a nonstop thing.
Well, I'm over there probably 3 times a week.
Oh. Good to have you. Nice to meet you. Welcome to your.
My mom.
He's the one that turned the hour.
Can you tell me I was crazy. I believe it. Oh my gosh. Hey, Mike, look. I'm just smoking. I'm freezing.
I was getting it on the back of my neck, and I was sitting here, kept pulling this up.
Oh my goodness.
What do you want to talk about?
I hope I do. I wouldn't be any good if I did all of it.
Huh? Oh, yeah. That's right. BDP. Get me out of here.
No, Lord, no, I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't go right here. I'd pray not go over. Look, you know, he called
She likes it, she likes it, and she got that in there, okay? You ladies from Lost Cajun, he said you like Cajun. Okay, come to me, my brand, in your life. You didn't work, Walmart,
They ain't gonna move.